Toronto has been a hotbed of lacrosse for a long time. With an increased focus on athleticism, it's pretty scary for the rest of the lacrosse world.
Being in the Toronto area, it's a lacrosse hotbed. You know, this is really where some of the best lacrosse in the world is played.
Shoots over the top, scores! Taylor!
And at the heart of it is our box lacrosse background. You know, you see that in our students here, and how they compete is really deep rooted in the fabric of Toronto lacrosse.
My opinion of lacrosse in Toronto, I think it's certainly growing. Box is obviously, you know, the primary style of lacrosse, I would say, for most Canadians, but I think throughout the past few years that field lacrosse has grown. You know, a lot of people from Canada are trying to teach the game of field lacrosse and grow that sport up here.
When I first started playing field lacrosse here in Canada, it didn't really resemble what we see today. It was kind of box lacrosse out on a field. And there weren't many Canadian lacrosse players going to play NCAA lacrosse at that time. Over the last 20 or so years, you've seen a change, and you've seen, you know, all these doors that have started to open.
You know, Toronto, it's the center of the box lacrosse world. And what I always remind the guys is the reason why those Canadian style players became attractive to those U.S. schools was because of their box style of play.
Lacrosse specifically has grown drastically since I was a kid in the Toronto area, just simply with the amount of people that have gone on to the next level.
Getting to work with kids and seeing the growth with them and seeing our numbers build and more kids coming out and enjoying the sport, especially with the Hill Academy and what they've been doing for the past few years.
The overall goal of the Hill Academy is to provide an environment where student athletes can really pursue their goals and dreams. The majority of our players are local, you know, from the greater Toronto area, and most are playing field lacrosse for the first time, getting them acclimated to higher levels of field lacrosse and teaching them, again, some of the nuances of the game to help their transition into playing collegiate lacrosse. That's kind of a neat thing.
I mean, you don't get an experience like this anywhere else. You get to come to an indoor facility like this, which is awesome, and you get to play with some of the best lacrosse players in, at this point now, the world. So we've had tremendous talent come through here, and now the Hill Academy has a name for itself where people want to come.
There's 35 players on our varsity roster. I would say 90% of those players have committed to Division I schools. We have so many strong players under one roof, and there's a really cool inter-competition and interaction that happens through that. Keep him there, keep him right there, keep him right there. Don't let him get topside.
You know, you see these guys come out of there that have these, you know, history in box lacrosse, have played box growing up, and now they're getting top-notch coaching from one of the best players in field and box of all time, in Brody Merrill, and learning the field game and how to apply those box skills to the field game with an increased focus kind of on athleticism and playing the game the right way is pretty scary for the rest of the lacrosse world.
When I first entered high school, I had a few players above me that were talking to schools and going to schools. And, you know, for me, it was something that I really wanted to do and a dream of mine. And the box lacrosse definitely helps the field game for myself. The defensive structure in the box game is very similar to field, keeping them to the outside, and the transition game as well, actually, just carrying the ball, reading the play.
When I was really young, you could see Canadian players, and there was so much box influence to the point where, you know, they were very good shooters or very good finishers for the most part. And now what you're seeing, I think, is that box background with a field lacrosse twist. In a lot of ways, it develops another level of grit and toughness, which I think is, you know, one of the greatest parts of lacrosse.
There are some distinct advantages for a box lacrosse player as they translate to the field game. Smaller confines, which forces you and encourages you to make quicker decisions.
Guys are able to catch the ball in tighter areas, finish. They have a little quicker hand-eye coordination just because the surface area is a lot tighter in the box game.
Canada has traditionally been able to score and kind of hang with the US, but winning the World Championships in 2006 was, I think, the first time where we kind of arrived. You had this kind of neat hybrid style where, you know, there's more and more players with traditional field lacrosse background playing at high-level collegiate programs combined with, you know, kind of a box lacrosse skill set.
If you look at the last 10, 12 years in college lacrosse, I'd be willing to bet that your top scorers, for the most part, are box lacrosse influenced and for the most part from that area. And that's no mistake. That's no coincidence. And if I can develop those skills and apply them to my field game, the hope is that I'd improve. And that was the original thought. And then once I got into the box game and got up to Toronto and played with these guys, a whole new world opened up.
Driver scores! Oh, and a fist bump! Captain America on fire right there!
Toronto was the first Canadian team in the National Lacrosse League, and kids in this area and fans of lacrosse in Southern Ontario, that's their team. So there's a passionate fan base.
Cal Rogers has one tonight, make it two for the captain!
Our fan base is awesome, and they support us great, and they make a ton of noise.
McCardle with the skipper scores! Karen McCardle!
The people of Toronto really, they have a special place in their heart for lacrosse.
Wow, what a shot by McCardle!
It's a lot different than what I've been used to in the outdoor game. They are die-hard fans, and it's real awesome to play in front of a crowd when that arena gets going. It's a chilling feeling, for sure.
Scott Rogers, great feed, what a finish! Another short-handed goal by the Rock, and that is a gorgeous play.
I'm someone who grew up and I'd meet pro players, and it's amazing how much of an impact guys like that can have on the next generation just by giving somebody the time of day. That's really important, and I think that love of the game is evident.
It's rewarding to see these kids grow and find a new passion, and you build relationships with each and every one of them just by seeing them year in, year out.
The way I see my role growing the sport is just showing kids that, hey, you don't just have to play here, you can go to the Hill Academy, you can go to the States at a prep school, and then you can go to college and you can play professional lacrosse. You can do so many different things with the game.
Lacrosse as a whole, pro lacrosse, box lacrosse, women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse, whatever it is, I think as a whole, everyone should start to link arms and grow this thing together. And I think there is a responsibility for those kind of at the top of the lacrosse world to kind of pass that along to the next generation.
It's a great game, we all know it. Everyone just wants to make it as big and as great as we can. The kids look up to, they want to be the next Challen Rogers. That's what it's all about to me.
It kind of brings a smile to my face when I see some Canadian lacrosse players play at some of these top programs and get to win national championships and play on the biggest stages, because we can do it and we deserve to be at that level, so we want to continue to see that trend grow.